As we all know, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall came out in 1996, and it was a pretty good fantasy life simulator open world game. Had a lot of bugs, had a lot of glitches. I constantly said this would be my favorite Elder Scrolls game if it didn't have issues, and it had issues, right? Daggerfall Unity, a community-driven re-implementation of Daggerfall in the Unity engine, has gone to great lengths to fix those problems. Securing Daggerfall's place as my favorite Elder Scrolls game. However, what I wanted to get at was Daggerfall was released on Steam recently when Bethesda shut down their platform because Bethesda was purchased by Microsoft, and Microsoft does not see value in competing with their own platforms. So it was released on Steam. It seems to me, based on what I've seen, that it is mostly a very passionate effort by like one or two people because they released it in the most slapdash way possible, just threw it up and didn't think about the patches, didn't think about all the other things. Remember that Daggerfall has come a long way in terms of getting it set up and patched. The official patch wasn't even included in the Steam release. Now this has been fixed, of course, recently, so this is a perfect time to make this video slash live stream. And I thought, now that we're sitting here and we're talking about Daggerfall, uh, now would be the time to discuss Daggerfall Unity, because a lot of people, they look at Daggerfall Unity, they see the word beta, and they assume it's not done. When in fact, it is feature complete. All they're doing is adding extra mod support, localization, bug fixes, things like that. But the game is fully playable beginning to end. And this beta part is misleading to some people who go, well, I'll get it when it's done. Little do they know, community-sourced open source projects like this are rarely ever done, right? They're always continuing. Anyway, speaking of, project continuing, modding is something that is a big deal in Daggerfall Unity. And so there's a Nexus page, there's forums, all kinds of cool stuff, right? So I'm here today with Kamer. Kamer is the developer of the Warm Ashes mod, among many other mods and initiatives within other mods, such as the World of Daggerfall. And we're going to be discussing those today with him. I'm going to unmute, because I've been muted on Discord in a call with him for, a couple minutes. So I'm going to unmute, and we're going to be talking about the current state of Daggerfall modding with Kamer. So, hello, Kamer. How you doing?
Hey, yo, what's up?
Doing well. I've been honestly overloaded with Diablo and Diablo Immortal related shenanigans this week, so it's good to sit down and talk about something else that isn't Don't You Guys Have Phones?
Oh yeah, I definitely.
So, let me ask you, uh, you're most known for Warm Ashes, but what are some of the other mods you've made in the Daggerfall Unity space?
Oi, oi, oi. Let me think. There's a good bit. I did the first things. Another one that's popular is the windmills. People
Mhm.
like the windmills. That was just something. I think that was like the first time I actually tried C# scripting and whatnot in Unity. Like that was the first time I got into that, and that led me into other mods. Warm
Right.
Ashes, yeah, Warm Ashes was the quest script,
Mhm.
got me into that, and I wanted to do more outside of quests, and then it led to like windmills. I did Rocks of Daggerfall, which eventually became World of Daggerfall, which is now a team effort with Cab, Kara, and Cliffworms, who is most well known for his Oblivion mods.
Yes.
Um,
For those who don't know, Cliffworms made an Oblivion mod called Oblivifall, Losing My Religion, where the background of this is In Elder Scrolls 2, you had all these different religions, right? You had Julianos religion, Akatosh religion, so on. I mean, they were all part of the same pantheon of gods, but the gods didn't necessarily like each other. They weren't one harmonious group of divines. They like the different temples were actually on a faction roster where they would arbitrarily get into arguments with each other and not like each other. So when Morrowind came out, they merged all of the religions into one and called it the Imperial Cult. Now, the Imperial Cult wasn't supposed to be representative of all these religions as one church, but rather it was a missionary cult, a specific point and purpose being sent to Morrowind, and this is their words, to enlighten the heathen Dunmer, right? That's why all of the religions are combined into one. And in Oblivion, the next game, the developers of Oblivion weren't really there for Daggerfall, so they looked at Morrowind and said, I guess this is how the religion is. And as a result, we got this homogenized Imperial Cult in Cyrodiil, the place where it's supposed to be split up into the different religions again. So Oblivifall, that mod, separates all of the religions. So when you go to, say, the Chapel of Dibella, you'll get the Dibella faction. When you go to the Chantry of Akatosh, you'll get the Akatosh faction, and so on. And that's what Cliffworms was known for, was his attempt to restore some Daggerfall mechanics and factions and concepts back into Oblivion. It made sense in Morrowind. It doesn't make sense in Oblivion, basically. Um, but yeah, back onto you, Kamer. As far as the world of Daggerfall and things like that, uh, have you had much experience with that world editor that's been gotten in that has been created for Daggerfall Unity?
You're talking about the one Kara made, right, on the forums?
Yeah.
I touched it when I first had it, because originally when I was making World of Daggerfall, it was on Bethany because the Daggerfall demo took place in Bethany. I figured, you know
Mhm.
what, be a good place to just start out. Smallish area, still large because it's Daggerfall, but smallish
Yes.
area. And for perspective, there's like individual map pixels you'll see in the map. You see a little dot. It's a town. That place is massive. Half the time to find something in the while editing and making locations, you got to upsize it like by like 10 or more just to maybe find it. So
Yeah.
finding those locations are difficult.
Okay.
But
So I've gone ahead and I pulled up a map of the Iliac Bay. As you can see, Bettany is this island I'm rotating my mouse cursor around. It's to the south of Daggerfall. It's this tiny little island. The original demo for Daggerfall took place on Bettany itself, and that was a larger world space than Skyrim. Obviously, it was much more empty. It didn't have handcrafted content. It was all procedurally generated, with the exception of the capital of Bettany, which was, one specific city that actually didn't make it into the final game because, they only had that in for the demo. Point is, you're saying that the world of Daggerfall originally was just building new, like, unique content here on this little island.
yeah, I released a demo called the Bettany demo, World of
Hmm.
Daggerfall Bettany demo,
Okay.
and because originally there was no world editor. I was doing it all by hand, and it took me about 2 months just to do a decent version of Bettany,
Hmm.
which is, compared to the rest of the map, incredibly small for 2 months. But I learned a lot from that, and moved over to obviously Daggerfall itself because that's where
Yeah.
most players are going to start out at.
Yeah.
So it'd be a good place to start putting locations. And I had like created some methods to try and quicken things up. It went from taking 2 months to do all of Bettany to just
Got
a
any
week to do
screenshots?
Daggerfall.
Got any screenshots for that Bettany? Like what you did in Bettany? So basic roads fundamentally changed how we looked at Daggerfall. specifically the entire game. Originally, it was just the Daggerfall region. Then it expanded. Multiple people worked on it and contributed their own road data. And what we ended up having was this version of Daggerfall that had roads connecting all the towns. Originally the towns felt like they were isolated, floating in a sea of nothing. And then with the basic roads mod, all of a sudden, all these felt like they were connected in some sort of infrastructure. It was a very minor change that interacts with the travel mod, allowing you to just hit a travel button on the road, and your character will automatically follow that road. It made the world feel a lot more connected and alive. But that's only one step, right? That's just connecting the various towns to each other in a meaningful way. Apparently, Kamer has come up here and grabbed some screenshots, so I'm going to go ahead and throw those up. This is an example of a shrine overlooking the one of the towns in Bethany. So you can see it right there. In fact, two of the towns, you can see them near each other. I imagine if basic roads were installed, we'd end up with roads going between those. But as you can see, even without basic roads, the like it already breathes so much life into it. And that when we talk about the world of Daggerfall that Kamer's working on, we're talking about this kind of thing where uh, we're adding handcrafted elements to the procedurally generated world. We're adding new locations to the wilderness. We're adding, all kinds of little tidbits here and there, hills and mountains and things like that, just to kind of flesh out the world. And like when you combine the world of Daggerfall with basic roads, it's kind of amazing. Um, these screenshots are pretty good. So these are all from your Bethany demo.
Yes, and at the time, the roads mod did not exist,
That's
so
right.
that's why it was not installed.
That's right. No, when I first started streaming Daggerfall, I mean, not when I first started streaming Daggerfall. When the pandemic hit and I found myself with an inordinate amount of time, basically, instead of having semi-constant work, I had 2 or 3 months gap there. I kind of filled it with Daggerfall, and that was I was running through the wilderness using the tedious travel mod. Um, and then all of a sudden, Basic Roads came out and revolutionized how we approached everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, like the game now, if you use a specific suite of mods, it feels so much more alive and connected than the base game. And yet, the base game, I think the reason why I find it so compelling is it is complex enough to give you a kind of a dungeon master experience where the DM is essentially telling you to go here, do that. It's giving you like adventure frameworks, but then it's simple enough that your imagination can fill in the blanks. And I think this is the disconnect between where people will say, God, Daggerfall is so huge, it's amazing, versus people who say, Daggerfall is so big and empty, it's pathetic. See what I'm saying? Like, I think that the ability to invoke your imagination is that breaking point for a lot of people. And I think that things like the world of Daggerfall, like filling everything in, and then the roads mod connecting everything together, um, it's starting to bridge that gap for some people. What do you think?
I'll let you know that's one of the biggest complaints, biggest requests whenever Daggerfall mods get mentioned, especially with the new Steam release, which actually got updated surprisingly today, I think. People go, "Hey, yo, the wilderness is empty. What's the
Yeah,
point?"
yeah,
Like when I first started playing Daggerfall back when it became freeware,
hmm
it blew me away because small elements like that I could fill in with my imagination. Other players can't.
yes,
So with World of Daggerfall, the places, locations, they're starting to exist now. So those
Yes.
players are complaining about the emptiness. They're actually, if they explore, they'll actually be able to find these places and stuff. Because if you can't use your imagination, well, here it is now.
Yeah. I completely agree. And you're saying like like there are specific enemy spawns or bandits or things that kind of fill in those places as well. So they're in theory there's stuff to do. It's not just places to look at.
Uh, my original envision for World of Daggerfall was to put rocks, mountains, and small encampments like you would find in Oblivion and stuff. I
Right.
loved Oblivion, so it really inspired me to have those locations in Daggerfall. It's expanded. We're a big team now. I don't really consider myself team lead anymore. I'm taking a
Hmm.
back seat, just creating these prefabs, what we call them, these locations.
Yes.
Cab's doing the coding. Kara's doing prefabs as well as some other things, I will say.
Hmm.
Cliff Worms is also working on prefabs. I'm back on prefabs. And what I
Cliffworms is in the chat, by the way.
oh,
And
hello.
Cliffworms says some of the World of Daggerfall locations are in the wilderness, like bandits' hideouts or orc camps. So, yeah, that sounds about right.
For what I wanted to do, which I thought would be cool, is to have like these exterior like dungeons
Mhm.
where you'd have a castle, but you don't go beneath the earth in like some caverns and
Yeah.
caves, like just exterior where if you look out the wall side of the wall, there's a window. You can see the outside, and I made some of those. They didn't make it in the recent update. Cliffworms did the orc camps all over Orsinium, and I do believe they made it in the recent update of World of Daggerfall.
Hmm.
Uh, I worked on some of the others you've seen, like the Pirate Cove and stuff like that. These kind of more massive locations,
Yes.
which ironically still look really small from a distance. Like the Pirates Cove is a big location inside; it feels massive, but once you walk outside, the actual world of Daggerfall is so massive it looks like a little pebble
Yeah.
along the sea. Like it reminds you how insanely big Daggerfall is. But we get a whole team working on it now. I consider them more the developers than I am, but I did start the project originally,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to throw that out there because technically it's not just my mod anymore,
Yeah.
and to also let people know, hey, yo, you've been saying you wanted stuff in the wilderness to do. It's happening. That's thanks to Kara with his world editor,
Hmm.
Cab with his coding, because that shit was driving me insane. And now I can just focus on doing prefabs and these exterior like dungeons. And like I say, Cliff Worms, he also works on prefabs.
You know, a lot of people have a tendency to hear prefabs and think, oh well, it's procedurally generated, but really that's all of Daggerfall. Like if you go into a dungeon, for example, um, I have memorized like 99% of the dungeon tile prefabs to the point where I know where every secret door is because I know every prefab. And
Yes.
so by expanding the number of prefabs that exist out in the open world, you're essentially giving the game system more to work with. Not directly, but rather the number of locations and varied experiences the player can have is very interesting. Let me ask you something. Have you ever considered for your Pirates Coves and other things um, creating quests that take place in specific locations?
Obviously, you know me from More Mashes.
Hmm.
I developed World of Daggerfall originally intended to have quests that would just happen.
Yeah.
For example, there's a big, massive bandit camp that was it was a location made by I'm So Bad at Nicknames on the
Hmm.
forums. I had placed a small girl in a cage, and in my original code, it would randomize her spawn. Sometimes she'd be there, sometimes she wouldn't. But if you were to interact with her, you could save her and take her to a nearby town.
Yeah.
Now, when Cab is taken over and the coding is different, and that stuff isn't there. Like you can see this, you can always see the girl there. She's always there now.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you can't save her right now. But Cab did say he planned on adding quests to these locations specifically.
Hmm.
And in fact, that's how I recently came back into Daggerfall modding because I took a year off.
Yes.
They keep tagging me randomly on the Discord. It's like, hey man, when you gonna be back? I think you'd be good at helping them with this and that. And I was like, okay. Finally, I caved in. I was like, I'll do a little. I'll do a few prefabs,
Yes.
and it kind of completely restored my inspiration for Daggerfall. So I'm doing it back basically full time when I'm not working.
That makes perfect sense. So as far as the things that are available for Daggerfall right now, uh, you like Warmash is notorious for two reasons. Number one, because people will install it and they will have a bad time, mostly because they aren't prepared for it. Secondly, because and we were discussing this on the forums yesterday, the forums Discord yesterday. You can run away from most of these encounters easily on a horse. So I'd like to address the first one first, and before we talk about the second one. But the War Mashes in general, it started with you diving into the quest system and creating how many quests under the hood?
Per encounter, each encounter in War Mashes is a quest in itself. So you got to code it. And I don't like to just have a set quest where this will always happen.
Yeah.
My quests will almost always have a chain of events.
Mhm.
And every time you encounter the quest, it might not even go the same way as it did before.
Yes.
Because, Daggerfall, once you know the quest, you got it. Something might be different, like the enemy at the end might be a different target.
Mhm.
But my quest, I like it to be dynamic. What if this time, instead of going to this dungeon, everything's absolutely fine, you get attacked by orcs or something, just something
Yeah.
simple. I just wanted to throw everything into a blender, shake things up.
Mhm.
One of my favorite videos on YouTube is a playthrough. I can't remember the guy's name, but he came out of Privateer's Hold with Orm Ashes, and he's trying to show off DFU. He's like, wow, look at these views. And before he can even finish what he's saying, he gets attacked by bandits.
Yes.
I love shit like that. I love shaking the normal things up. And it all comes back down, really, it comes back to World of Daggerfall and stuff like that. You go into Oblivion, you go to castle, ruins, whatever, there's always enemies on the outside. War Mashes was born from wanting to do that. I didn't know how to use C# at the time. I had to learn a lot of tools to do the stuff I wanted to do, like modeling. I didn't really get into that until Daggerfall.
Yes.
I basically learned all the stuff to get into it, and I wanted to populate these dungeons with these enemies just to have a little life to the game, because outside of Daggerfall, like the wilderness and the exterior dungeons, nothing happens ever. And that's obviously one of the biggest flaws, in my opinion, of the original game. It's just a little too empty sometimes. Even with somebody like me with good imagination, it's like this place should be swarming with spiders or something. So in order to populate the dungeons, I made a kind of a crappy quest system that would, create monsters and whatnot. That was based off JH's. He had a dynamic quest system. Every month something would happen.
Yeah.
I based it off his work, focused on dungeons, and at first it would just select 500 random dungeons. You go there, it would always happen, and then it resets. But that was extremely buggy, and eventually Inner Karma made it, thankfully, to me and JH's request, that you could trigger things whenever you enter a dungeon area.
Yeah.
And that's where version 2 of War Mashes came to be. And
the dangerous dungeon exteriors. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. It finally started working the way I intended. It was a long process, because I was finding a lot of bugs with the quest system, because I was doing so much stuff that, it's the quest system. You make quests for it. I'm doing a entire system around it to summon these monsters at specific times, do these skill checks.
It wasn't built for this, so you were basically stressing it to its limits, I take it.
Absolutely. There's sometimes I would I sent a city event to JH, and I'm like, the quest system more than I do to a T. Why is this task not shooting off when it's supposed to? And he would come back and say, everything you did is absolutely fine. It's way too complex. It's confusing the system.
Yeah.
So I would straight up just confuse the system, even though I wrote it correctly, but it was too complex for it to understand. And not only that, there was a time earlier in Daggerfall, I believe it's fixed now, but if you had so many variables within a quest, it would completely break the game. And I found that out. It was of around 70, 75 variables. Go over that, and it would completely destroy the game.
I assume that that has been patched or worked on since then.
Yes, yeah. Yes, Interkarma fixed it. There was supposed to be no limit on variables. It's just one of those things you don't really know about until you start making things around that level.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, okay, so there's a joke, and it was that a software engineer opened a bar, like, and before they opened the bar, they tested the bar. They they ordered a beer. They ordered 4 beers. They ordered -2 beers. They ordered 9,999 beers. Right? But
That's exactly what happened.
all right, no. Hold on a second. So, it worked. It worked. You know, like they had some bugs. They fixed the bugs. Whatever. But it worked as intended. Like they were able to order 9,999 beers. It worked. But then, when they opened the bar, the first real customer came in and asked to use the bathroom, and everything broke down.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically it. Is the idea that the developer will build something that is fit to purpose. In other words, replicating Elder Scrolls 2's quests. But when you put them in the hands of a mod maker, someone who wants to do things that the developer didn't originally intend, all of a sudden you strain the system beyond its limits. And yeah, that's what you did. I think it's good though, because I had a lot of fun with Warm Ashes, and I look forward to seeing what new kind of encounters can be made. Let me ask you something. Originally, you could only work with existing monsters with their existing variables. Like you could change, say, all Daedra Lord's health, but that would affect all Daedra Lords in the game. Is there
Yes.
now a way to like personalize bosses at this point?
You can with C sharp, but through the
Mm.
quest system, no.
Okay.
However, there's a lot of tricks you can do with the quest system. You can have it to where, at from the start of the day to the end of the day, he will always be healing at all times. So you can make a monster that has infinite health,
Right.
for an example, and you can have that, and you can set up. Hey, he has like smaller sorcerers who surround him. Kill the sorcerers. If you kill all of them, that tag goes away. He's
Hmm.
vulnerable now. You can do like gimmicks like that in the
Right.
quest system.
Okay.
In terms of like changing stats specifically, no, but you can find gimmicks to make interesting encounters.
Mhm. That make okay, so but it's possible within Daggerfall Unity, even though the quest system itself can't do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That sounds good. That's mainly I'm looking at the future of modding and what people have done with it. Like look at Bossfall, for instance. Have you ever played around with Bossfall?
It was like a newer thing. I've been gone for a while, and I
Hmm.
usually keep my same mod load order. But
Yeah,
ever since I came back, I noticed there's a lot more mods I want to try out, but I just
yeah,
need to find the time to play them.
I
I heard
understand.
about it. I definitely heard about it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it was originally a fork of Daggerfall Unity. The idea is it changed things that the normal modding system at the time, obviously things have changed, but at the time you couldn't change certain aspects of the game. So they just, like literally the developer forked Daggerfall Unity and said, this version has this, and that instead. And that's kind of impressive. Um, it looks like, according to Cabo here, um, version 0.11.3 has support for custom enemies now. And so Cabo and Kamer are finally going to implement that. Is that true, Kamer?
Yes, I've been hard at work on that
Mm,
mostly recently.
mm.
I have a little GIF right here. I'm about to send you of like a lizard man I did recently.
Okay, I'm having a look. Oh, is this inspired by Elder Scrolls 1 The Arenas, Lizard Man?
Absolutely.
Ah, so you created a new monster that you want to basically take Elder Scrolls 1's Lizard Man modernize him to the extent of Daggerfall. Is that what you're saying?
Not just the lizard man. I'm
Mm.
also working on all the monsters that didn't make it from Arena to
Right.
Daggerfall.
That sounds great. So we're talking about like goblins and things like that from Elder Scrolls 1?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, that sounds great. I can't
And not
wait.
only that, but also obviously custom Daggerfall enemies. I
Mhm,
got a lot of like close looking graphics that look very close to the original
mhm,
Daggerfall look. I'm very happy with these guys.
mhm.
Let me try to get you a Necromancer here for a moment.
Okay.
See that pop up? Yeah. That's a Necromancer based off like what's in Daggerfall. He still
Yeah.
needs a little work, but I'm trying to get as close to the art style as possible.
Oh yeah, those necromancers kicking back and relaxing in the King of
Yeah, with the
Worms area.
spears.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It's like they're a faction in the game.
Yeah.
There's a male and female variant.
Mhm.
Where are the enemies? They're clearly like pre-renders, like like everybody else's
Yeah.
enemies. And it's like, okay, where's the Dark Brotherhood? Where's the witches? Where's all that? I do plan on adding all those as enemy variants because if there's one thing lacking in Daggerfall, I think, especially with Unity now, since we got so many tools available, is enemies. We need more enemy variety. I want to see those
Yeah.
horse riders finally in action, not as just like a cover up of a regular enemy, but with stats like fast
Yeah.
actual horse riders. And with all this, I can do those ship raids and stuff with actual pirates or add pirates to pirate
Yeah.
coves. And I think I got it. It blends in pretty well with the existing graphics. It's to a
Mhm.
point where I believe I can finally do what I've wanted to do for a year now. I've taken off for a year, but now Cab's on board. I don't have to worry about coding, sweat off my head. I can just
Mhm.
focus on creating the graphics. I bust my ass on that. He busts his ass on like getting them in the game,
Mhm.
and hopefully we can like double, triple the amount of enemies in Daggerfall. We're starting out with Elder Scrolls Arena. We're
Mhm.
doing custom Daggerfall enemies all the time. That's never off the table. Kara and I'm trying to remember. There was another guy. If you're in the chat, please tell me who that is. There was another guy. He told me they ripped Battle Spire sprites from all the
That's
Daedra.
that's actually what I was going to ask next. I had that on the tip of my tongue, and I was just kind of waiting, like, are you going to backport some of the Battlespire enemies? And I guess the end.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay, that's
I,
great.
I'm kind of hoping, you always got these sky winds and stuff like that. I'm hoping somebody
Yeah.
makes Battlespire an actual expansion pack like it originally was supposed to be.
Oh, I mean, yeah, Daggerfall is first and foremost a dungeon crawler. Like,
Yeah.
the open world only served as a kind of respite. But originally, before we had the world of Daggerfall, before we had the roads mod, before we had tedious travel, aka travel options now, but before all of those things, the open world was mostly just to give you a sense of scale. That's basically all it existed to do. Now, however, um, there's so much more. People are asking multiplayer when, because let's be honest here. If we took the enemy variety from Arena, Daggerfall, Battlespire, and a few like custom things you built up, and then you weighted them differently in different regions. So like, say the Dragon Tail Mountains or the Necromancer's headquarters, because King of Worms, and so
Yes.
on. Like if you gave the enemies encounter weights based on what region you're in. Like the next step would be multiplayer and just journeying around the world to face different foes.
Oh yeah. Oh
Hmm.
yeah. I always make my mods try to make them as compatible as possible. And if
Hmm.
you do have two sets of mods like Village Immersion Overhaul, which is down right now, it needs to be reworked. But
Hmm.
guards could attack enemies, or
Yeah.
matches spawns enemies in the wilderness, and you could have these unique encounters where the gate guards would attack these legion of bandits and stuff. It would create these unique encounters if you had both of them.
Yeah.
So same things going on here. I'm building, yes, like these new graphics for enemies.
Hmm.
Cab's coding them, and I'm also in the background because Warm Ashes is going to get an update to remove the quest version of Wilderness Encounters because it can be buggy. The quest system's just not to snuff to keep it going at a consistent rate because it forgets where the player's at sometimes.
Yes.
I've already like recoded a simple wilderness encounters event, just like Warm Ashes, but in C#. It works all the time, no flaws. And I've already prepared to have all these new enemies ready to go. All I got to do is have the enemies done, and I can just put them in random events.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm imagining now like a necromancer based dungeon that, it's like a quest sends you to kill a necromancer instead of it just being random bandits and animals, it would be actual necromancers. That's all kinds of things spark the imagination when you look at Daggerfall mods, because again, the basic idea of Daggerfall is it's simple enough that you get directions by the game's virtual dungeon master, essentially, and then the rest of it is your imagination. So it's just kind of great sounding. Are there any other initiatives within the community that you were aware of that you wanted to talk about?
I kind of keep to myself, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not the best to talk about that because I'm always busy with doing my own stuff. Because
I
if
see.
I'm not doing one thing, I'm doing another. I like doing
Right,
small
right.
projects, like the low poly trees that I'm working on. Just they fit the original, low resolution. They look great in game. They give
Yeah.
the world a lot more depth. That's a small project that'll be out in no time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on another one. Somebody suggested this in Discord where it's like it just adds like blood spills or whatnot in
Mm-hmm.
battle. A successful hit will equal a blood spill on the ground,
Yeah.
and it's pretty cool. It adds dynamics stuff like in fighting in dungeons, you could follow like pools of blood into like
Mm-hmm.
a body, and like just small additions like that. I live for,
Yeah.
honestly.
What's this picture you sent me?
This is the Medusa in work for Daggerfall.
Ooh. So is this like the Daedric Seducer where it looks like a normal woman, or is it just always like that?
It's always like that. I mean,
Okay.
it's just like how it is in
Uh-huh.
Arena. You got this snake-like woman who crawls on the ground at you,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to. How would it look in Daggerfall? That's always how I do something. I always make sure it's would it fit the vanilla game, and I do it. If it's something
Mhm.
that it's obviously trying to modernize it, that's not really what I do. I love the game as it is. I just want to add on to what exists at baseline.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of interesting in the sense that we have like Daggerfall itself already has a diverse style of sprites to the point where sometimes you think they clash with each other, but in general, because they're all of the same retro aesthetic, kind of era,
Yeah,
we're able to find and or create sprites that really fit that diversity, I think. I've definitely seen it in your Lizard Man, that's for sure. Like the full rotating sprite there looks ready to go as far as I'm concerned. I know there are other logistics in the way, of course, but
yeah.
it looks like good work, and everything I've seen as far as your World of Daggerfall work. Speaking of which, I'm actually gonna type World of Daggerfall.
There's
Uh,
actually a trailer for that Cliffworms made on YouTube.
okay, let's go ahead and first we'll go to the Nexus page, or at least I would, but the Nexus wants to not load. All right.
Excellent.
Yes, this is exactly the kind of thing we want in real time. Daggerfall trailer. Okay. World of Daggerfall trailer. Let's have a peek. So, gonna go ahead. Yeah, it's by Clifford Worms. Got it. So, we're just gonna play the World of Daggerfall trailer really quick. Uh, Never been a fan of the head bob myself, but the ruins look kind of amazing. Now, let me ask you something. I saw somebody posted on Twitter a while back a picture of a dungeon exterior for a castle that was actually a whole castle, and then the dungeon entrance is on the inside of the whole castle. I was gonna say, is that going to be in World of Daggerfall, or is that a separate thing?
That might have been the exterior dungeons I made
Mm,
actually a while back. I did post some pictures on Twitter
yeah,
showing, you could see like the mountains from the inside of this castle,
yeah.
and it's like it's just a small, super small, pocket-sized dungeon for a side adventure.
Hmm.
That's not in this current update with the trailer and whatnot.
Yeah,
My stuff came in too late, but the next release we are planning on releasing these kind of more, I guess, amped up locations, not just your typical bandit camp, but maybe a small fortress.
yeah, yeah. I can see what you mean. Gonna say I'm just closing up all of these extra windows. How much RAM is your Google Chrome taking up? That's a joke. So someone made a meme online of like because people love doing OS 10s where they represent operating systems and things as anime girls. So one of them was Google Chrome, and she was like hugging a body pillow in bed, but it was actually like a stick of RAM. So it was Google Chrome and her 8 GB of RAM, something like that. Pretty accurate actually. I'm looking at all of my tabs here. Nothing compared to your average streamer, but you know. Um, Anyway, what I'm getting at is the world of Daggerfall is looking pretty good. I'm actually going to pull it up here just a second. We got Warm Ashes. Ah, World of Daggerfall is ready. Good. Took a moment, but we got it. So, yes. Um, this is the Nexus page for the world of Daggerfall. So these are some of the. These are interesting mountains. Do you know where they came from?
Kara and then would know, like in
Mm-hmm.
the original pictures I showed you, those were just amped up regular Daggerfall rocks. Eventually, in
Right.
the later screenshots, you see I started adding my own prefabs that I just like generate in
Yeah.
Blender. The current rocks, I'm not. I think they might be Unity assets. I'm not too
Uh-huh.
sure. Kara would know more about that because a lot of stuff like the big rocks, like I've always imagined for World of Daggerfall, they added that in while I was gone.
Okay.
So they would know more about some of that development.
I see. Um, the mountains are from a Unity store package. That's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. So, Warm Ashes. You said Villager Immersion Overhaul, which is down right now, but that was a
It's
thing.
being yeah,
Yeah.
it's being reworked.
Hmm.
Like I got a lot of mods. Just I forget sometimes all the mods I've done. I've done
Yeah.
the lootable dungeon containers. I did the bounty hunters.
Hmm.
Bandit raids on farms.
Yeah.
Windmills, I believe I mentioned. Death Date, which I might be updating in the future. Windmills to Daggerfall is also getting an update soon.
Yeah.
I've worked on new models for that.
Death
Um,
Date. Go ahead and tell me more about that concept.
I like to make mods for Daggerfall that personally I would use.
Mm.
Not so much that everybody would use. This is simply a mod that like keeps track of your character's age, which is random. Uh, you start out at a random age and you just live your life. You have a set date you will die. So you can put 100 hours into the game. If you're like 80, you could die of heart failure. Like something small as that. I created it specifically because I would start characters in Daggerfall, play them, and just randomly drop them. And I was
Yeah.
like, what if I had a system that just like told me, hey, yo, straight up, your character, you're not gonna be able to play this character anymore. Start new. That's simply the whole idea of it. It
Yeah.
will tell you if you had any major reputations with any guilds.
Hmm.
Right when you die, you get to start screaming. You generate the character class, and it shows you, hey, the Dark Brotherhood fucking hated your guts, but the Fighters Guild think we're amazing. It tells you where you were buried. It picks a random graveyard of the region you're at, so
So
you get buried at like Gearsfield like cemetery or
that
whatever.
sounds very much like a Fallout 3 or New Vegas ending.
Yeah, okay, you could just rename it, Fallout style endings. But yeah, that's generally like just a small mod I wanted to have
Yeah.
personally, and I released it because why not let other people just have this type of experience? You won't probably die in a game because
Yeah.
Depending on how much you travel and stuff, it could be years before you are set to
Uh-huh.
die. And then if you want to transcend your death, you could just become a vampire and just age, but not like physically age.
Right,
And
right.
I was thinking about adding maybe features in the future to have fortune tellers to give you an idea of
Uh-huh.
when you will die and try to enhance your life, maybe even becoming a lich eventually in the future. But that's
Yeah.
just more theory. I'm not planning
Well,
on it anytime soon.
what I would do, and again, like this is not a mandate for me. I'm just saying, like, if I had the ambition, which I don't, I would add I would add a system by which you could load a previous save file that has quote unquote died as a when creating a new character. So you are the heir to your previous character. You see, a game like, for example, Torchlight. When you wanted to quit a character in Torchlight, you could create a new character. You would essentially retire your old character, and the next character you created using that save file would inherit like an item you chose when you retired, as well as like a chunk of your fame. And fame was an alternate leveling. Like it was, you leveled up normally, and then you leveled up your fame as well, and then your fame would give you extra skill points. But the idea is that you could preserve some of your previous character's fame and one of your character's items with reduced requirements, so you could use that weapon early or whatever. Um, Anyway, you said make something like Rogue Legacy. That's what I was saying though. Is the idea of being able to inherit your previous character's stuff or wealth would be an interesting concept for, like, give the character a certain a death date, and after that let you inherit some of their stuff, and that would just be interesting. Thanks for the stuff, older me. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what came to mind when you talked about Death Date just now. The idea of inheritance, and there's all kinds of things you could go with that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. You said you thought Fable 2 and 3 were gonna do this for your offspring. Fable. Peter Molyneux. What a man. What a man. I'm not gonna say anything else other than that.
I can't believe he killed Elder Scrolls. It was
Oh,
like my favorite game series.
oh no. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I mean, if it wasn't that, it would have been Kingdom of Amalur, because Ken Rolston really knocked it out of the park with that one. Um, Let me see. Do okay. He gave you a phobia of games in like this, inventing flintlocks for a bit. The villain who just has a pistol for no reason in a world where everyone else uses swords. I remember that shit. Okay. Jokes aside, yeah, so you did Death Date, and you're thinking about updating that at some point, but for the most part, your focus is squarely on prefabs for the world of Daggerfall, since that's the big community-driven project, right?
The big two are new enemy graphics for the new monsters we're going to do.
Okay.
That's going to feed into later, bigger projects I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Yes.
And that would include extended
Mm.
dungeon sieges, like
Yes.
to the max, actual Daggerfall soldiers taking on Wayrest soldiers, etc., pirating events with
Mm.
actual pirates raiding your ships. I know
Yes.
I told people I would be doing that, but took a break and had
Mm.
to reset. And
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it for a long time. I've been wanting to add a new faction to the game with a new set of quests,
Mm.
and that I would like to add an arena to Daggerfall, where
Mm.
you can join an arena, rank up, take on more powerful quests, and that gives me ideas for creating, utilizing those new monster
Mhm.
types, but also adding gladiator-like warriors to that specific mode.
There was a
Just
mod. Hold on. Welcome to the arena, and then it was Morrowind. Yeah, Morrowind, welcome to the arena. And let me see here. So, of course, yeah, the Nexus is being slow again. So there's a mod for Morrowind. I'm just typing in this stuff. I'm ready to show everybody, and then I get immersive white screen. So yeah, but Welcome to the Arena is a mod for Morrowind that allows you to essentially join an arena faction, join either the red team or the blue team, and then raise your way through the ranks as you fight more and more enemies. And yeah, I mean, you eventually face off with the Grand Champion, who has absolutely absurd mechanics. It's like how do I put this? It goes from you just whapping people with your weapon to dodging like line AOE's out of an MMO. It's just like, what the hell? But yeah, it's the point is that this has been done in Morrowind. And if it can be done in Morrowind, in the vanilla engine, I am 99.9% sure you can make it happen in Daggerfall eventually.
I've
That
got an idea of how it would work. Yes.
mhm. Okay. Well, that's about it. That's mostly what I wanted to talk about. Was most people have this preconception that Daggerfall Unity isn't ready because it says beta, and I kind of wanted that was my first and foremost thing I wanted to be able to express, and that's why I led this video with that. Is that, hey, it's functionally complete. You can play the video game beginning to end. You should play it now. Um, and secondly, I wanted to show everyone what you've been working on, and talk about like what the community's been up to. So I'm glad I was able to get your input. Um, what um, what should we look forward to specifically from you as far as mods go then, moving forward, like in the next, say, year or so?
Hopefully, we will have those enemies, at
Hmm.
least a good pack of them done in the next few months.
Okay.
Get those arena enemies in. The moment we get new enemies,
Hmm.
that's the moment when I'm starting to set up my other projects. Once I get the Daggerfall soldiers done, I'm going to start working on sieges in the back. Right now, I got Warm Ashes Wilderness, which is going to be changed into a proper DF mod instead of
Hmm.
quest because it's more consistent.
Yeah.
It's going to utilize these new enemies. Not only that, it can do things outside that the quest system cannot, like summon, instead of just typing text saying, "Oh, you see a wagon." Really, there's no wagon. It's just your imagination.
Hmm.
Now I can actually summon corpses, a wagon, and loot for the player to find out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
It's not just a text. You can actually look and see with your eyes, oh, this is what happened. Like
Yeah.
it's more involved in looking at the area, seeing what happened, what's going on.
Hmm.
Like you could do that way more because it's actually in the game. It's not just text anymore.
Yeah.
So once those new enemies get in, I'm immediately going to be starting work on adding them to the wilderness, and then I'll be happy with basically a test release showing this is what the future idea of the wilderness of War Ashes is going to be. It's going to be actual loot you can find. You could just be running down the road in travel options, and you'll just see, oh, you stopped. Why? And you look on the ground, you found loot,
Hmm.
like stuff like that. So that's probably the closest one that's going to be done is the wilderness encounters, like
Okay.
basically enhanced. And you can see sieges enhanced, and well, pirating events didn't exist before, so they will exist probably after sieges, I imagine, because they will take a little more work. The sieges after wilderness encounters is going to be, you're going to choose a side. You're going to choose Wayrest, Sentinel, Daggerfall, or I'm considering Orcs for Orsinium.
Yeah.
And it's not right now. It's just you versus an army in Warm Ashes.
Yeah.
I would like that to be you're joining an actual army in a siege or a battle in the wilderness or something of the sort. Rescue a princess who's been captured, take over, like raid this town that's taken over by Wayrest.
Mm-hmm.
like lay waste to it. Like that's going to be the idea of the extended sieges. It's going to be way bigger than it was before, with actual like gimmicks and objectives that you would have in games like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say those are the ones I'm working on. Yeah.
Okay. The final thing is, let me see. It should be DF Workshop. Let's go to the Warm Ashes page again. And on the Warm Ashes page, I was able to see this here profile picture. What is the story behind that? That
Let me
roll
see.
from Mega Man EXE.
I really fucking love Mega Man. It was the original game series I fell in love,
Okay.
and this image in particular, I thought it was funny, and I used it for a while. So that's really it.
Okay.
Nothing beyond that.
Okay. Just wanted to know. Anyway, with that all said, I think we've basically covered all our bases. If people want to see more stuff from you, how do they do that?
I'm
Like,
mostly active in the unofficial Daggerfall Unity Discord. I
mm-hmm,
talk there with people every day. I talk to people today.
mm-hmm,
I can drop my Twitter right quick. That's where I just randomly might post, like Sakurai did for Smash Bros. Just post a random screenshot of something that
mm-hmm.
looks nice or something I'm actively working on. Let me just get my profile link right quick and give that to you. And you just follow me on there and just like see what's up. Put in your input for the love of God. Somebody say something because
Okay.
like I'll see hundreds of people play my stuff and I'm not even sure if it works half the time. It works for me, but
So,
nobody's saying something.
so in other words, if you've played and enjoyed one of Kamer's mods, like Warm Ashes, or you've used the World of Daggerfall and seen the prefabs and stuff, um, you should probably contact Kamer on either Discord in the Lysandus Tomb Discord server, or here on Twitter. Maybe reply to one of his fancy pictures, in all the fancy stuff going on, and possibly I don't know. This seems to be the most appropriate picture to describe everything, I think. Um, and with that, is there anything you want to leave us on before we take off?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Let's Plays. Steam
Mm-hmm.
release popularized Daggerfall. People playing
Yes.
the vanilla DOSBox version.
Mm-hmm.
If you are playing that version, for the love of God, turn off the arena controls. Just use WASD like a man, because it's driving me nuts when people play the original DOSBox version and they're not using mouse look or WASD.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you do that and realize, oh wow, Daggerfall, it actually controls okay.
Yes.
Take those
Yes.
files, put them in Unity, and just play that one.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to have something more authentic to the original, turn on retro rendering mode.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And let me pull up a mod that I think some people hold on. I think some people may want, if for any reason, let me hit this. Okay, yes, and it's open. So if you are considering playing the vanilla engine because for whatever reason you can't, like, you want a more authentic experience, go ahead and download classic exploits for Daggerfall Unity. It will give you all of the broken, glitchy exploits that benefit the player without falling through the world, dying, controlling horribly, lagging, all the things that are in the original engine. Only the beneficial bugs are still around. So, that is a mod that you can use if you want that more authentic experience. But either way, upgrade to Unity. I recommend it. Obviously, due to archival, we want the original to still exist, but with retro rendering mode and other features, you can get it back to almost the vanilla state without the horrible fall through the world bugs. That's my recommendation anyway. That sounds like it's about it. Thanks for coming, Kamer.
Oh, thank you. It's no problem, man. Love
Mhm.
being on.
All right, and to the rest of you, I intend, I don't know if this will happen or not, but I intend on having a discussion with some of the members of Tamriel Rebuilt semi soon. That's a Morrowind mod. I'm hoping to cover that, and I'm also hoping to cover a few other things. But for the rest of the day, I will be inconsistent. I will probably be back with, I don't know, something stupid like Diablo Immortal or Final Fantasy XIV. But that will happen after dinner. So in the meantime, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye, Kamer.
See you, man.